Top 15 countries outside of Africa with large black population. In today's video, we're exploring the top 15 countries outside of Africa with the largest black populations. Let's dive into the fascinating stories behind these populations. 15. Italy, 1.1 million. Italy's black population has grown significantly due to immigration from Africa, particularly North and Sub-Saharan Africa, in recent decades. Economic opportunities and Italy's location as a gateway to Europe have made it a primary destination for African migrants. 14. Dominican Republic, 1.2 million. The black population in the Dominican Republic is rooted in the transatlantic slave trade, with African slaves brought to the island during Spanish colonization in the 16th century. Over centuries, African and European ancestry blended, and today, the country's population reflects this mix. 13. Spain, 1.2 million. Spain's black population primarily comes from migration from Africa in recent decades, particularly from North and West African countries. Spain's proximity to Africa and its historical ties to former colonies like Equatorial Guinea have also contributed to this population growth. 12. Canada, 1.3 million. Canada's black population largely stems from Caribbean immigrants, particularly from Jamaica, Haiti, and other Caribbean nations, beginning in the 20th century. Earlier, smaller waves of African American refugees fleeing slavery also contributed to the population during the 19th century. 11. Mexico, 1.5 million. Mexico's black population dates back to the arrival of African slaves during the Spanish colonial era. Many settled along the country's coasts, particularly in Veracruz and Guerrero. Though often overlooked, Afro-Mexican communities have a long history in the country. 10. United Kingdom, 1.5 million. The United Kingdom's black population has its roots in the British Empire. Large waves of immigration from Caribbean nations like Jamaica, Barbados, and Trinidad occurred post-World War II, especially during the Windrush era. 9. Jamaica, 2.6 million. Jamaica's black population largely descends from enslaved Africans brought to the island during British colonization. These individuals worked on plantations, forming the backbone of the population. 8. Peru, 3 million. Peru's black population originates from African slaves brought by Spanish colonists to work on plantations during the colonial era. Over time, Afro-Peruvians have integrated into the broader population, but continue to maintain distinct cultural traditions. 7. Saudi Arabia, 4 million. Saudi Arabia's black population is connected to historical trade routes and the trans-Saharan slave trade, which brought Africans to the Arabian Peninsula centuries ago. Additionally, modern migration from countries like Sudan, Somalia, and Ethiopia has contributed to the black population. 6. Yemen, 4.4 million. Yemen's black population has similar roots to Saudi Arabia's, with African communities arriving through historical trade routes and the trans-Saharan slave trade. 5. Colombia, 5.5 million. Colombia's black population primarily descends from enslaved Africans brought to the country by Spanish colonists to work in mines and plantations. The coastal regions, such as Choco and Cartagena, are where many Afro-Colombian communities are concentrated. 4. France, 7.5 million. France's black population is largely a result of immigration from former African and Caribbean colonies. After World War II, waves of African and Caribbean immigrants, particularly from Algeria, Senegal, Martinique, and Guadeloupe, moved to France. 3. Haiti, 11 million. Haiti's black population is predominantly descended from enslaved Africans brought by French colonists during the 17th and 18th centuries. After a successful revolution, Haiti became the first black republic in 1804. 2. United States, 48 million. The black population in the U.S. traces back to the transatlantic slave trade, with Africans brought to work on plantations, especially in the southern states. The Great Migration during the 20th century saw millions of African Americans move to northern cities. 1. Brazil, 102 million. Brazil has the largest black population outside of Africa, primarily due to the transatlantic slave trade. Africans were brought to Brazil by the Portuguese to work on sugarcane plantations. Brazil's black population is concentrated in Bahia and other coastal regions, where African cultural traditions are still strong. Each nation carries a unique legacy of African heritage and culture. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments about which country's story stood out to you.